Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Low Season Traveller Insider Guides. I'm your host, Kate Burgess. Today, we explore Northern Norway with Karoline Hol Blomstrand. Karoline is the Marketing and Sales Manager at Skaarugen, a new hotel in Lofoten for all budget levels. Northern Norway, and Norway in general, experiences such extremes in weather. From 24-hour daylight in the summer to some of the coldest temperatures in the world during winter. But despite these freezing temperatures, the area has an abundance of things to do during the low season. You can gaze up into the mesmerising northern lights one night, and the next day you can plough through snow on a dog sled. Northern Norway is as unique as it is beautiful. I would also like to preface this episode with my apologies to any Norwegian listeners out there for my pronunciation of Norwegian words. I really did try my best. Here's today's episode. Hope you enjoy. Hi, Karoline. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today.
Hey, Kate. I'm so honored to be with you. This is so exciting for the both of us, I think. This is great.
For sure. So one of the first questions I like to ask all my guests is, what do you see, hear, and smell when you step out of your home in Northern Norway?
Well, the smell is very distinctive where I live because I live in a city called Svolvær, which is the major city in Lofoten, on the Lofoten Islands. And just outside my door, they actually dry cod during the spring and summer season. So the smell really sits all year long, so it has a very distinctive smell of dried fish. So it's pretty intense.
That is a very distinct smell.
But you do get used to it, and it has its charm. But yes, and what I see are right now, I see snow-covered mountains, very steep mountains, and the ocean, really. I'm sort of between the ocean and the mountains. And then it's, bit of a city life, but it's a very small city. So that's what I see.
I don't know if I'd personally call it city life when you're sitting there smelling freshly caught fish with snow-capped mountains and ocean. But if that's what you consider city life in Northern Norway, that seems like paradise.
Yeah, well, it seems like any place with more than 2,000 city centers at the moment are defined in a way of a city, just because we have schools and cafes and restaurants. So it's been interesting.
So more than 2,000 people is defined as a city in Northern Norway?
No, not really. I'm sort of putting it on the edge, but no.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to chat with you today because someone from so far away at the bottom of Australia, I'm basically the other side of the world to you. I think snow, northern lights, mountains, ice, and Santa, basically. And obviously this is an uninformed view, which is why I'm excited to learn more about it. So for those like me that don't know, can you tell us a little bit about the region of Northern Norway? What are the major cities and what's the best way to get there?
Of course. So the region of Northern Norway it's a very, very large region. And for people even people who live in the southern part of Norway, they don't even really know where it kind of begins. The coast of Norway stretches 25,000 kilometers long. Wow. So it's a very long country. But I would define the beginning it can be sort of in the middle. It's a bit north of Trondheim, which a lot of people are familiar with, but it starts sort of with a city that's called Mosjøen. And then it stretches all the way up to Kirkenes up in Finnmark, which is all the way north of the northern part of Norway. But yes, it's a large region, and the major cities, if I personally define it, my view on major cities, it's Mosjøen, Mo i Rana, Bodø, and this is going from south to north. Mm-hmm. and then Harstad, Narvik, Tromsø, and then there's Alta and Kirkenes up in the north. So yeah, those are the major cities. But again, the cities, they're so much smaller than any size of, in Australia. Like we do not have any million cities. Like there's no cities here with 1 million citizens. Not even Oslo, the capital of Norway. So Tromsø, which is the largest city in Northern Norway, it's about, I think, 70 to 80,000 people. That's the largest. So that kind of puts it on perspective.
Yeah, wow.
But
And is there an airport in Tromsø?
So there's airports in all these cities. So it is very easy to get to most of these destinations. Mostly all of them you can fly from Oslo. When you arrive to Norway, you usually arrive in Oslo at the major airport. And you can fly into all of these cities with Norwegian or SAS.
Awesome.
So that's pretty good. And then all of the smaller places, like Svolvær, where I live, you can also fly into. There's a lot of smaller airports, but it's usually budget-wise better to fly into the larger cities and then rent your own car and drive to the districts. So that's usually what I recommend to anyone who's traveling in Norway. There is a lot of options, of course. You can also take the train, which goes from Oslo, and you can go to Oslo, Bergen, and Bergen, Trondheim, and then Trondheim to Bodø. I don't know if you get sort of the where that's going, but that's sort of from east to west and west to north.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's a really good way to see and observe Norway, but that does take a lot longer than flying, of course.
Good for people that have two options. If they have more time, take the scenic route, and if they don't, it's perfectly accessible to fly up there.
Yeah.
So I follow a lot of social media pages advertising Northern Norway, actually on your recommendation, Karoline, and they are some of the most picturesque, clear blue water, mountainous, clean, crisp images I see on my social media feed. So obviously there is a huge amount of nature, hiking, skiing, and outdoor activities. What are some of the top outdoor activities that you would recommend for visitors coming to that region?
Well, first of all, I would put sort of like the activities into summer and winter, and because the seasons are so different here, and which means that the activities are as well. So I would sort of first put those in boxes of the summer activities and the winter activities. But of course, summer is our most popular season to come visit. But that's just, in some parts. Actually, in Tromsø, it's much more popular to come in the winter. So
really?
Kind of goes from, it's kind of interesting. Like it goes from place to place. But in Lofoten at the moment, it's the high season is the summertime. But winter season is growing. Of course, Corona has made some changes this year, but the last 10 years, the winter season has definitely seen an incline in tourism from countries from all over the world. But again, activities, yes. Summer, I would say hiking is like the major activity in all of Norway, really. Of course, not in the cities, but a bit in the districts. Hiking the mountains in Norway they're so intense. They are so different from anywhere else in the world. They're not that, like high. They like the mountains aren't like the trips aren't that long, so you can walk up any mountain and it will take about 2 hours, sometimes 4, but they're not like Canada, like the Alps you see in Canada. They're like super intense, but so the mountains here they're so different. They're very steep, So as you do hike these mountains, I mean, you definitely need good shoes, good gear, and you need to walk the routes that you're sort of familiar with. But the hiking possibilities here are endless. They're just endless. And there's so many parts of Norway that haven't really been discovered by tourists yet. So when you walk up, you can have just the entire mountain scene by yourself. It's crazy. It's so beautiful. And there's not a lot of
Wow.
dangerous animals here either. There's no crocodiles or dangerous spiders or snakes or anything. So you don't really have to worry about that when you're walking by yourself. So it's beautiful. But then, yeah, with hiking also comes climbing or rock climbing and bouldering. That's
Oh,
also super
cool.
popular in the summer. And then there's so much to do on the water activities. I mean, kayaking is something like one of my favorite activities to do. As I said, the coastline is so long, and with the coastline comes like super like intense scenery with as you said, the white beaches. There's many small islands, so you can explore so many beautiful places with a kayak, and of course also the fjords. And then there's the fishing activities. There's a lot of different options for fishing. You can go fishing for salmon in the rivers, sorry, and of course there's fishing by the coastline. So different options there,
Can
and
you
also,
go ice fishing in the wintertime?
yeah, yes, you can. Yeah, I'll come to that.
Great. That's
Still in
something I've
summer.
always wanted to try, which is why I asked.
Yeah, and then there's surfing, which not a lot of people
Didn't
know about.
expect that. Wow.
Yeah, Arctic surfing. That's actually
Cool.
becoming more and more popular by the year,
Mm.
um, especially in Lofoten, though. People come to surf, and also parts of the neighbor island of Lofoten, which is called Vesterålen. So surfing is definitely a big thing here, and then there's the eagle safari, which is also super popular.
Is
And
that
yeah, and
eagle
then there's
spotting?
eagle spotting, but usually by boat. We call it a rib, which is like a small motorboat that goes super fast. I'm not really
Cool.
familiar with the name in English, but yeah.
We just call that a
And then
speedboat.
a speedboat.
Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah. And then the last thing I'd say about summer is just hanging, with your friends underneath the midnight sun. It's just so special.
Wow. Yeah.
So
Amazing.
yeah, because the sun doesn't go down in between the end of May and the end of July. So it's just like it's daylight all day, and
Mm.
you can just stay up and just have the best time. And of course, yes, it does confuse you when you
I
come
can
in here as a
imagine.
tourist, but it's great. And then for winter, yeah, as you said, ice fishing. That's definitely an option in many parts of Norway, especially up in the north, way up north. And then whale safari is huge. You can see the orcas. Then there's the Northern Lights. Hello, everyone knows about the Northern Lights. That's like the major thing that people come here to see in the winter. I mean, we have tourists from, China, Japan, Korea, South Korea, Canada even. I
Wow.
mean, they have the Northern Lights itself, but yeah, they come here, and the Americas, yeah, it's huge. So
Are the northern lights visible throughout all of winter, or is there a more specific time of year that they are more present?
yes, there is a more specific time. They start around September,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and they go until about March.
Okay.
So it has to be dark. I mean, that's the
Mm.
one thing. It has to be dark outside and at nighttime and cold. So it's winter, but I'd say the best time to come see it is between October and November.
Mm-hmm.
For Yeah, that's my experience, but some people actually say also January, February. So it's I guess it's different from where you're in Norway, but In Troms, it was definitely before Christmas that we experienced that it was high season for Northern Lights.
Okay. So
Yeah,
the low season in Northern Norway is the fall and winter from October to April. So despite it being extremely cold, I mean, you are in the Arctic, so it is freezing. There are some things that can only be done during the low season, and one of those is dog sledding. And this is such a
yeah.
unique experience to have. Are there guides and companies that easily book this? What's the best way to go about it if someone wanted to go dog sledding?
The best way to go about it is to go to Tromsø directly. I would
Mm-hmm.
say Tromsø is the city that the hub of dog sledding. um, I mean, they even have this like husky cafe with like hundreds of huskies.
Wow.
But yeah, there are many companies that provide this activity, and it's very very easy to book. Um, and it's super popular, super popular for both adults and children. So it's an activity that I've actually never tried, which might sound strange for a lot of people coming here, but it's not really something that we locals do. We don't really go dog sledding.
Yeah, it's always a classic
Yeah,
thing that you never try the most, I guess, touristy experiences in your own country. That's why it's always great to have people come visit because then you get to try them
yeah,
out.
yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Yeah. And but it looks amazing. Like I don't even know why I haven't tried it. Of course, it's a bit pricey. So,
Hmm.
but it's a great activity. And that's something I always recommend for anyone who comes in the winter time is to just experience that if you're a dog lover like I am. So I mean I have to try it pretty soon because it's about time, naturally.
Yeah. Here's your reminder for you.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
So, listeners might not know that Northern Norway actually has an archipelago off the coastline, and people really enjoy going island hopping, especially when they're UNESCO World Heritage sites like Vega Islands. Do you have a recommended route for people if they were jumping around the islands? What's the easiest way to do it? Is it to book a tour or DIY and just jump on boats and planes?
DIY, 100%. Norway should be experienced on your own. Rent your own car or a van and just go at it. It's so easy to get around in Norway, 100%. Like
Mm.
there's ferries for every island almost. So, and even for Vega, you can get there easily by ferry. Um, and yeah, I always say like having your own car gives you just so much freedom here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the roads are long, so it does take a while to drive from A to B, but it's so worth it because, yeah, then again, like the scenery. So to get to Vega, I haven't been there actually,
It's
but
okay.
it's a place I really want to go, but I do know a bit about it. It's it is a really, really important place in Northern Norway. As it's been inhabited since the Stone Age, which is pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it consists of a group, I think, of 500 islands. So that's a lot. And it's been a place where, the eider ducks. You've heard of those?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, the eider ducks. That's where they they're inhabited there, and then um, the people living here at Vega they harvest their down feathers and they
Mm.
create duvets or duvets. I don't know how you say it. Duvets. Yeah.
I say
Uh,
Duna personally.
Duna. Yeah, the Duna.
Duna.
That's actually how we say it too.
Oh, there you
And
go.
yeah, and this down that they harvest. I mean, it's really worth a lot. So some of these dunas that they create, I mean, they cost like 9,000 Australian dollars. It's
Wow.
yeah, it's pricey. So
So
I mean, the
a great
environment.
souvenir if you have the money.
Yes, yeah, and I mean, the islands are really really popular for bird watching. So I know that a lot of bird watchers go there because there's like 200, 250 species of birds there. So yes, that's really really big for Vega. And yeah, I would go there if I were you. Let's go there together, Kate. I mean, we
Okay.
have to.
I'm never going to turn down an invitation.
Nope.
So the biggest city in the north is Tromsø, made a big
Yes.
city because it is a large university town. So what's the
Mm,
best city exploring activities to do in Tromsø?
mm. So the best city exploring is probably to start off by taking the cable car. There's a cable car just when you're arriving in the city. You get to this cable car that takes you up to the mountain, which has this incredible view of the entire island of Tromsø. Tromsø is the city is an island between two other, the mainland and another island.
Wow.
So the city itself, it's quite unique. It's got two bridges to connect to it. And so at this point, I mean, it's such a popular place to live, but for them to sort of to the city to grow, they're sort of like keep like um, what do you call it? Like they're just like putting more land, like
They're
they're
building
building
more
it.
land.
They're building more land to make it possible for people to actually move there, which is really interesting. So it's a very expensive city to live in.
Mm.
Yeah, the prices are crazy, but yes, it's a student city. It's got a huge university, so the city life is really, really good, especially in concern of like the food scene. There's heaps of cafes, restaurant, bars, and for anyone who's curious about like the proper like Norwegian food, I would definitely check out. Like, there's so many good restaurants in Tromsø. So, and also it's got a lot of really nice areas surrounding it. A really popular place is called Lyngen Alps, which is one
Mhm.
of the most popular skiing mountains in Norway. And then there's the Ashfjordbotn, which is about 45 minutes drive outside of Tromsø, which is this crazy fjord. It's so beautiful. And it's also really, really a popular place to go for photography in the wintertime for the Northern Lights. And and then there's also so much to do, as I said, in the city itself. It's got a lot of like niche shopping. There's the Polaria, which is sort of like a small sea world with heaps of like seals and interesting fish from our coastline.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's my summary on Tromsø.
I mean, there's plenty to do there in that list.
Yeah.
So we can't mention Northern Norway without talking about the extreme weather. You know, as you said, with summer providing you with 24-hour daylight and the other side being able to see the northern lights. So I wanted to ask you, obviously this podcast is about traveling in the low season, and traveling to Northern Norway in the low season is going to be very, very cold. So I would love if you could share some of your tips after living in such a cold region for so long. Of, is there any
Mm,
specific items of clothing that you would recommend? Is there any
mm.
faux pas that people make where they think it's going to keep them warm and you locals just kind of laugh, thinking just that it's ridiculous? So someone from coming from sunny Australia, what would you recommend for us to deal with the weather?
Well, first of all, I think we have to define the low season a bit more. I um, I would say that, like, to define it properly, the our low season is really March to May and
Mm-hmm.
uh, September to about November. So that's like the probably the best time to come if you want to avoid a lot of tourists.
Mm-hmm.
And those that's pretty much our spring and our fall. So and those seasons are so beautiful in Northern Norway. In the springtime, it's still really cold. Yeah, it's probably average, I'd say, 0 to 5 degrees Celsius. Naturally, around May it gets a bit warmer, but it can vary from year to year.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then in September to November, it can be anything from 15 Celsius to, like it's today, -1. So it varies from week to week. It's so crazy. So always check the weather forecast for, just be sure what you're coming to. That's really for anywhere you go, but yeah, especially in Northern Norway. Pack wool, like anything with wool is good. We always wear wool ourselves here during those seasons. We're all about the the wool up here. So anything you can have like beneath, like your pants, like if you can have like wool stockings and wool leggings, that's really, really, really smart. Woolen socks. Of course, bring a proper hat, and I would say like a really, really like warm jacket with a wind jacket over. So you have like, it's all about the layers, really. Just have a lot of layers.
All about the layers.
Yeah, it's all about the layers. And shoes. Shoes are super important. Do not bring Uggs. Please, I hate Uggs. They're really, really good for like probably Australia in the winter time, which is like funny.
Uggs were not designed as a snowshoe. They were designed as a slipper to be worn in the home in Australia. They are not for outside use.
No, and they're not for snow. Not for snow at all. They're not waterproof. I've tried.
There you go.
So,
first-hand experience.
Yes, but anything with leather. Timberlands are great winter shoes. You can get them anywhere in the world. And yeah, just anything that, is waterproof and that's super comfortable and that you can walk long kilometers with, because you're going to walk a lot when you're in Norway. You're going to walk a lot. You're going to experience like a lot of wind. It's windy everywhere here. You are not gonna that's just something you have to get used to. So yeah, I think we're just gonna settle on the layers and the proper shoes.
Great tips.
Yeah.
Karoline, thank you so much for joining us and talking to us about Northern Norway. I'm really excited to have you back on this Thursday to talk about Norwegian culture, specifically the Sami people and the food. But thank you for joining us today, and looking forward to talking to you soon.
Yeah, me too. I'm super excited. Thank you so much, Kate.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Northern Norway sounds like a magical, snow-covered dream. And thank you again to Karoline for joining us and sharing with us on how diverse this area of the world is. Karoline joins us again on Thursday, where we discuss Sami culture and traditional Norwegian cuisines. Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback or destinations you would like to hear more about, message us on our social channels @LowSeasonTraveler. Keep your travel dreams alive, and more now than ever, travel is better without the crowds.